I listen to people who talk about homelessness and their experience of it. It always is like you listening for the first time, because this person's account of it is so fresh and so different than the next person's. And so you learn that there is no one way to be homeless at all. The tapestry of homelessness are really much more like a kaleidoscope, many different colors and shades and nuances of patterns that exist, because a person can't really be identified as being Mr. Homeless.
Randall Loeb is an activist. He works to give homeless individuals a voice in the Denver metro area. He spends his days pedaling his bicycle from nonprofit to nonprofit, where he sits on the board.
I met Randall, I guess it was about 5 years ago, and he is a board member here at Capitol Hill United Neighborhoods, and he was receiving an award at our annual meeting, a Good Neighbor Award. And I was just an intern then, and that was, I think, my first impression of Randall. I was very intrigued. I didn't know much about him, but the background I got was that he was formerly homeless and a huge advocate for the homeless community.
Yes, you heard right. At one time, Randall also found himself with no place to go.
Well, I was homeless mostly because of the fact that I had a traumatic, life-threatening emergency, not with me personally, but my daughter Layla, my youngest daughter, who was nearly killed in a car accident about the time she was 16. And I was living here at the time, and I was struggling. I was in a relationship with a person living in Edgewater, and I went back to see her, and pretty much everything fell apart, because I just could not accept the fact that I could not really do anything about the fact that a vehicle plummeted into the car that she was in and killed her boyfriend and a childhood friend instantly and left her mangled. And so when Layla was nearly killed, I remember it was the mid-90s, and I really couldn't cope with it. And I was in therapy, and I just threw my medicine away and just generally succumbed to the illness that I had, and literally lived in the gardens that I took care of with Denver Urban Gardens, and sheds and places all through Capitol Hill.
Randall knows that trauma can lead to homelessness, and he is a regular at city council meetings where many advocates feel the same way.
Childhood trauma, for the most part, that causes a person to not be able to function in the capacity that you would want. And untreated means we as a society has not helped a person to deal with the things that have happened to them.
Because I have PTSD from being molested and abused really bad as a child, and so I had behavioral problems, and I just kept running away because they just put me in group homes like with 180 other girls. I don't have family to lean on. My dad is in prison, and my mom is a meth whore, and she lives in Seattle. She got drugs for selling me when I was 4, which actually in turn made it impossible for me to have kids. I was in labor for 53 hours, and because there's so much scar tissue, I didn't even dilate past 4, and I had to get a C-section.
Denver City is currently moving a bill through the city council to ban urban camping in Denver. They are set to vote on it May 14th, and Randall is in strong opposition to the measure. He spoke at a public forum last Monday.
We are all responsible. None are exempt here. None, now or ever. Let's reflect on our connections and not our differences. When we look in the mirror, we see everyone. Here, and when we look in the mirror, we behold the same. We all must begin to listen, abandoning our fears with respect to protecting our possessions, because what we are most terrified of is coming to the same end. John Donne once said, When the bell is rung, it tolls for thee.
When the bill passes, the homeless will have 1 month grace period before they are put in jail. Services like housing vouchers will not be available in such a short time, and society will punish an already victimized community.
Well, I don't have family, I don't have anywhere to go to. I'm waiting on a FUP voucher for foster kids, but that takes 6 to 8 months to go through. And
not everybody is given the same circumstances in life, but to criminalize this fate is unjust.
Like, they're marginalized even more because somebody's trying to pass a law against them or talk about them as an entity, talk about massive shelters. Any of this stuff is actually hard for most homeless people because they're not its, they're individuals and they each have a story.